Cool.
Okay.
Well, I got some questions for you. So you're coming to Australia in October, and I can't remember you ever touring here before. Is this the first time you've been down this way?
No, it's the second time. We did a tour, what was it 13? Four
Oh, okay.
shows. Yeah, we did Perth and Melbourne, Sydney, and Brisbane.
Oh, cool. How did that tour go?
Oh, it was fantastic. It was, the first time we ever visited Australia. It took us like 22 years, but still,
Yeah,
it was amazing. A very cool crowd, a very good atmosphere. Loads of traveling, of course.
yeah,
It's about, like, kind of big distances, so we didn't see much other than venues and airports and airplanes actually the only sightseeing thing we did was to go down to the Perth Harbour and eat fish and chips and watch the Bon Scott statue.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I still
Yeah,
haven't seen the Bon Scott statue.
it's pretty nice. It's like down in the harbour area, and there's like lots of seagulls flying
Yeah.
around,
Oh,
shitting at
well,
stuff.
kind of. You're known as being a pretty heavy band, and it might surprise people that you're an AC/DC fan. Is that common amongst extreme metal bands? You think the love for the old school bands like AC/DC?
Yeah, yeah, of course. I mean, AC/DC is one of those bands that are, uh, ad- strongly adapted by any fan of rock and roll. I would say they have like just as many fans in the punk scene as in the metal scene. It's more or less just like Motorhead. So we're just one of those
Yeah, for sure.
bands. Yeah. So I mean, you gotta be a pretty big dick not to enjoy AC/DC or Motorhead or anything. It's
I
about
agree with
enjoying.
you 100%.
Yeah, it's about enjoying music, not enjoying genres. That's pretty lame.
Yeah, I know. But there's definitely a lot of elitism in metal, and I know you guys have changed genres a bit. Do you ever find that you annoy some fans that only like, underground black metal?
Yeah, I hope we do.
Yeah.
Then we're doing something right, right? I mean, it's all about music. Music is all about energy anyway, and then the way you transform the energy is like it's really not interesting as long as you have two types of music. You have great music and you have shitty music. It's just as simple as that.
Yeah. Some bands I really like because, they, repeat the album every album's the same, like AC/DC or Slayer, but that's what I like about you guys. You can change every album, but it's still cool and I still love it. You consciously go in thinking, all right, this album's going to be a bit different to the last, or you just go in and jam and see what comes out.
Yeah, rather the latter actually. We hate the idea of repeating ourselves, and but that's really not a problem because we always want to develop our sound. We always want to do something new and different. And obviously, there's a red line through all the albums because it's been playing by the same dudes. So it's definitely recognizable, the playing style and so on. But I mean, our way to approach music has always been making your own contemporary favorite album, and obviously we like to uh, explore and increase our record collection, and we are constantly picking up new stuff that we listen to, and obviously we are inspired by those new inputs we have, and therefore it just naturally sounds different from the last album.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
not. It's really not brain surgery. It's pretty simple when you think of it.
Yeah, now you've got I think it's 13 albums, a lot of music to choose from when you're picking a set list. What can we expect on the tour? And is that there's any albums in particular that are your favourite?
Well, actually, in Australia, there's a special thing. This is like we played two sets.
Oh, yep,
If you buy a ticket, you can actually participate in voting songs for the set list.
yep,
So we have no idea which songs we're playing. It's all up to you, Aussies, really.
yeah,
So there's gonna be one set of old songs,
yep.
handpicked by Australians, and there's gonna be a set of new songs, also handpicked by you guys. So I'm really looking forward to see what songs you pick.
Yeah.
to be honest.
You know, as I said, you got a lot of albums. Are all these songs rehearsed? Is it, you know, if people pick, you know, obscure songs, is that going to be a hassle for you guys to go and learn them and rehearse them again?
Well, I mean, we have made a kind of a large selection of songs. I mean, some of the songs, I mean, are not we're not able to play live,
Hmm.
obviously, because there's you know, songs with choirs and some songs that requires old synthesizer, old Moogs, and things
Yeah.
we just can't bring along. So not all the songs are possible to play live, of
Yeah.
course, but I mean, I think that the it's kind of a vast collection of songs that you can vote on. So I don't think people will be disappointed. I think people will be fairly satisfied, at least.
Yeah. I know you guys formed in the early 90s. You're very young, like teenagers, you know, young teenagers as well. Was it a struggle to get started as a metal band?
Well, yeah, I mean, nothing is really a big struggle when you are 17. I mean, you just go with the flow, and you know, basically don't give a fuck, you know.
Yeah.
So things were easy, and things were it was so exciting, you know, just to make your own song, just to be in a band, just to, you know, it was something really refreshing back then, because when we grew up there were no metal scene at all. There was like nothing going on. So at the place where we started rehearsals, we were the only band around. So and that itself were really refreshing, and it was really cool that, you know, people and other bands, they had no fucking idea what what was going on. They
Hmm.
have never heard this kind of music before, and they were like, "Wow, what the fuck is this?" And, you know, people were like scared of us, and it
Yeah.
was it was a strange feeling, to, you know, to be able to scare off you know, adult 40-year-old people, you know, being a little 17-year-old fart, you know. It
Yeah.
was pretty fascinating.
You know, I'm always fascinated about the kind of early days of black metal, and I was just wondering how big was the scene, you know, when Mayhem and, you know, bands like that first started. If you went to one of their shows, how many people would be at a show? Was it, you know, a big scene?
No, it was not a big scene at all. I mean, well, Mayhem, they started in the Oslo region, so there were obviously more bands in that region, in
Yeah.
the eastern part, because yeah, there's a lot more people there
Yeah.
than in the western part. But apart from the Oslo scene, it was very spread out. There were like a, you know, 10, 15 people in Bergen, and there were us here in like 2 hours south of Bergen, Haugesund area. We were like, you know, the guys in the band, maybe less than 10 people altogether into that kind of music, and the same thing in Stavanger, and there were only a handful of people doing this in the early 90s, before it started to grow, obviously. So there were really, there weren't that many gigs. I remember we put some gigs, set up some gigs in 1990, 91 with our former band. It was a band called Phobia that we had
Yeah.
before Enslaved, and we had it was a Phobia. It was Old Funeral from Bergen. It
Yeah.
was Embryonic, later Emperor from Notodden,
Hmm.
and yeah, some other local bands, and some I think it was a power metal band called Witchhammer from Sarpsborg in
Oh,
the
yeah.
eastern
Yeah.
part of Norway, that headlined the show. It was probably more people. It was probably more artists than spectators. So, or it's kind of strange. It was maybe 50 people bought tickets, you know, for all those bands. So this was in the beginning of '91. So it was definitely not a big thing back then. But we still had fun, you know. We still very much into it, and it was, you know, all the guys in all the bands watched each other, and you know, partied together, and it was great times anyway. And everything has to start somewhere,
Yeah.
you know.
And I know your first album, it was picked up by Euronymous. What was he like to work with, and how did he discover your music?
Oh, well, I was in contact with Euronymous already when we played in Phobia. He sold our demo tapes at his shop. So and so by the time we started Enslaved, he already knew that me and Eva were starting a new band, and he told us to send whatever we recorded. He told us to send it over, and so we can listen to it. And we kind of decided early that we were supposed to release an album on his label when we were ready for it. So I remember the first Enslaved songs we sent over to him in '91. He said, "There's definitely a potential here, but give it a couple of more months, say half a year, then do a proper demo, more songs, and then I'm pretty sure it will be a hit. No, it won't be a hit, but I mean." Anyway, so we recorded the demo tape like 6 months later, and me and Eva traveled over to him by bus, actually, over the mountains. And I remember he said during the first song, he just paused the cassette player and said, "All right, guys, we have a deal. I really don't need to. Let's listen to the rest of the songs, but I really don't need to listen to the rest of the songs. You guys have a record deal." So that was pretty cool. That was one of the milestones. Still is.
Yeah, for sure. I love a lot, listening to a lot of those bands, the early black metal, but then you hear bands now and they seem to intentionally go out of the way to, have a badly produced sounding album just to sound like the bands back then. What do you think about the new bands that are, trying to replicate the sound of, 1991?
It's pretty funny,
Yeah.
But I mean, it's really not possible because all these recordings were done on tape. It was like analog, and you cannot replicate anything of those analog recordings by recording it on Pro Tools or Cubase. It's just not possible. The only thing you can do, you can replicate if you have a cassette recorder, you can actually replicate the rehearsal tapes that we did, because that's the same thing. Well, I mean, the studio recordings, I think they more or less sound ridiculous, And the things we did back then was a result of a vast field of inspiration, and we didn't only listen to extreme metal bands because a lot of those bands really didn't exist, So we took inspiration from classical music, from avant-garde music, even from electronic music, like Kraftwerk, all those bands in the 70s, Klaus Schulze. Classical music, some of the bands were into punk rock. A lot of heavy metal, of course, heavy metal and hard rock, thrash metal, and the early black metal such as Merciful Fate and Venom. So there was like loads of it was inspired a lot of different kind of music, and all the Norwegian bands sounded individually very different from one another, because it was like a very spread out scene with different channels or different approach to make music, So trying to replicate or just listen to a very concentrated thing, it makes the whole thing really pointless. It's like. Well, you have those retro bands in all genres. There are bands that desperately trying to sound like Led Zeppelin. How are they supposed to do that? They're supposed to play untuned on purpose. I mean, what the fuck is that? Make some more music, you asshole.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, really. I have nothing against nostalgia at all. I mean, we are constantly inspired by music from the 70s and 80s. But I mean, we're inspired. We're not trying to remake it or make replicas. I think that's lame,
Yeah, I was just listening to your new album In Times before. The production's definitely a bit cleaner than it used to be. Do you still record analog, or you moved on to Pro Tools?
don't use. We have never. We've never used analog since I think the last album we did so. It was probably those albums we did in Sweden were done not analog, but a mixture. They were done on ADAT recorders, which was that's probably. It's a mix of an analog tape recorder and Pro Tools.
Okay.
Something in between. So we have not done analog recording since the 90s.
Yeah.
We have equipment. I mean, we have actually access to do so.
Yeah.
But in metal music, there's not that much to gain from using those. Actually, maybe on the drums, maybe on the bass, on the guitars and vocals. Nah, not really. Yeah. It's like you spend a lot more time in the studio and makes it a lot more expensive without actually having benefits from it.
Yeah, for sure. I'll just ask one more question because I know you got more interviews to do.
Yep. Me too.
Yeah. Just lately, I know there's been a big trend towards vinyl music, and in the last 4 or so years, I've been really into it too. I just think it looks cooler, it sounds cooler. Are you a big fan of vinyl yourself?
Well, I never stopped buying vinyl in the first place, so for me it's just the same as it's always been.
Yeah.
The only thing that pisses me off is like a lot more expensive now than 10 years ago.
Yeah, it is.
I remember when we were in the States, like in the end of the 90s, and those albums that cost $40 now, you can get you got them for like $5 back then. So. But it's still a cool thing, of course. I mean, it's a better format. I think it sounds better because maybe because I'm more used to it, and I grew up with it. But it's certainly different from digital recordings, and it's a good way to get people to buy physical formats nowadays. And moving away from the downloads and even from streaming.
Yeah.
So that's a positive thing, definitely. It's good for the bands. It's good for the music scene in general. It's a really, really positive thing.
Yeah, for sure. I agree 100% with that.
Yep.
Anyway, thanks very much for taking your time out and doing an interview with me. I really appreciate all the answers, and I'm looking forward to the show in October. I'm definitely going to be up the front, headbanging the whole time. It's going to be a great show.
Oh. Sounds amazing. All right. Nice talking to you.
All right. Thank you very much. Enjoy your interviews.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye.